Hi, my name is Mary Feaster, and this is my presentation for Module 1. So I'm a kindergarten teacher in the Central Dauphin School District. I just finished my second year. The reason I chose the STEM endorsement is because I collaborated with a first grade teacher this year. We paired up a kindergartner and a first grader, and we did monthly STEM projects together. We typically revolved them around themes. For example, in March, we did leprechaun traps for St. Patrick's Day, and we did turkey traps in November for Thanksgiving. Our students really loved these activities. They had so much fun, and they got really excited about them every month. So I'm hoping that through these classes, I will be able to better support my students in their future STEM learning. In my spare time, I'm also a cheerleading coach for Central Dauphin High School. I was a cheerleader for 12 years myself, so it's a lot of fun coming back and being on the other end of things. I also love to kayak and go hiking. My favorite candy bar is the Milky Way. I love caramel. So question 1, how do students learn science? I'm not going to read the quote. Obviously, you can read it for yourselves. But it really stuck with me in chapter 1. And I just love how it talks about, we have all of this knowledge that we learn just based off of our personal experiences and things. But unless we really hone in on that knowledge and learn skills and ways to further that knowledge, we lose it and it's almost for nothing. So it's really important that we do foster that in a formal education setting. The first thing that I noticed in the chapter 1 was about preconceptions and how if we don't address preconceptions, that students really kind of fail because they get stuck on those preconceptions and they can't move past them. So that's the first thing I noticed is super important to address those. The second thing was how factual knowledge and conceptual knowledge really need to be hand in hand. If students don't have the concept or the conceptual framework to put that factual knowledge into, then it's kind of for nothing. It's great to know factual knowledge, but unless you have the context to put it in, it's not really helpful. The last thing is metacognitive approach, which is somewhat difficult in kindergarten as, they have a lot to learn already in general. But metacognitive approach, talks about how students can take control of their own learning and set their own goals and notice when they're making progress. So the barriers to science learning is, I already kind of addressed this, was not addressing that prior knowledge or those preconceptions that students have. If we don't address those, then a lot of times they get stuck on them and there's no way to move past them, which I think is really shown well in the fish is fish example. I really loved that example. I've read that book to my students actually, and I found it super interesting to think about it through a different perspective. The next thing is conceptual information is not typically acquired through personal experience. If we don't address that conceptual knowledge, then we're expecting people to have it through personal experience, and you don't typically get that through personal experience. I've included here box 1-4, which was the chess example about the several different chess players, which I thought was super interesting. Unless there was that concept there for the master chess player, he was about equal to the novice chess player and the basic chess player. In my classroom, I absolutely do address the prior knowledge. Kindergartners love to share, and they have a lot of prior knowledge. So we get that out in the open, and we try to move on past it. I try really hard to introduce the conceptual framework in conjunction with the factual knowledge so they have a better understanding. I would love to incorporate more metacognition into my classroom. The last thing is, this is my STEM perspective. I think it's best when everything is incorporated and overlaps and students have a better understanding of how things work together.